Welcome to the Create What You Speak podcast. Join me as we have a real-life discussion on how to change your life by changing your thoughts. Remember, question everything, trust yourself, and find your truth. Hi, and welcome to the Create What You Speak podcast. Well, congratulations if you're in the U.S. You survived probably one of the worst weeks of recent times, and that's really saying something given what 2020 has brought us. So I was trying to think about, how to say what I wanted to say this week. And I know this title this week is probably made you raise your eyebrows when you looked at it. Free range slaves in the corporate media plantation. But things are so out of control right now. I mean, that's like the understatement of the year, right? It's not out of control, doesn't even begin to cover what's going on right now, right? But I feel like in order to understand what's going on, we all have to be open and willing to the idea of really unlearning everything we were taught, right? And I think that's a lot of what we're going through right now. Like all of these things that for us as Americans, like the election is something that, well, we want to assume that it's done fairly and accurately. And we are seeing that's not the case here. And as if 2020 wasn't painful enough, we're going through this another level of pain with this whole thing in what we are seeing right now. So this concept that in this topic this week of free range slaves in the corporate media plantation, there's things that are just becoming so obvious that there's just no way that you can't start seeing what is happening right now, right? So let's talk about this free range slaves, the first part of this topic this week. So if we look at the definition of free range, most people think about that in farming, right? Like when you think about free range chickens, right? If you think about, if you're someone who that's important to you, if you eat organically, and free range is a big term in food supply. So I looked up the definition of free range, and here's what it says. Free range denotes a method of farming where the animals for at least part of the day can roam freely outdoors rather than being confined in an enclosure for 24 hours a day. Okay, so free range, right? You can, and I'm thinking about this in both our physical, where we walk around in the world, and also what we do online, right? Because in America, we still have the right to free speech. The last I checked, we did, but I see that's not really what's going on right now. And I think before 2020, most of us would have said that we're free, right? We live in America. Of course I'm free, right? Land of the free, home of the brave, right? But 2020 has incrementally brought us so many things that show us that we aren't, look at where we are right now from where we started in March, right? We are not operating as free humans, right? We may be free range, right? Where part of the day we can roam freely, but in the end, right now, what's happening, this is not what a free society does, right? If we look at the trajectory of things, right, it started with these forced lockdowns, and then it was, which brought these forced isolations for everybody. And then businesses and people, actual humans, were told that they're non-essential, that you're a non-essential worker, whatever that means, right? People were told they were non-essential workers. Business owners were told that their businesses were non-essential, and everybody just took it. Everybody just was like, oh, okay. That was no big deal. That's a big fucking deal, right? That's a big fucking deal that the government can come in and just say that you're non-essential or that your business is non-essential. No matter what, they deemed it non-essential. Okay. And as if that wasn't enough, then we, with the being labeled non-essential, you're forced to stay home in the isolation, but being non-essential means you also can't work, so you have no income. So who do you have to turn to? The government, unless you have some sort of savings, which, some people do, maybe some people don't, but there's your handout for the government, right? Because they've put you in this position that you have no other choice but to ask for that. And then as this year went on, then the drama continued about the masks, the forcing of the mask, right? You had to wear a mask everywhere you went. And if you're not going to wear a mask, you can't go to the grocery store. You can't get on an airplane. You can't go into the doctor's office, right? You should be wearing your mask. Hell, there's probably still people wearing their mask when they sleep. I mean, that's how fucked up and beyond, like, out of control the whole mask thing has gotten. And so do any of those things that I just mentioned to you sound like freedom, right? Does any of that sound like freedom? No, it's not, right? And so, okay, so let's go, if we're talking about freedom, what does freedom actually mean? The power or the right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. The power or the right to act, speak, think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. Do we have that right now? Do any of us have that right now? No, we don't. We don't have that in our day-to-day life. If you just want to run up to the store. I mean, I was talking with some friends about this today, like, you know, and I think I've talked about it here on the show before, about to get in the car and actually go somewhere alone even it causes so much anxiety for me right now, because I don't know what I'm going to be up against. I don't know what I'm going to be dealing with. And often most days I don't have the energy for it. I don't want the anxiety of it. I don't want to walk in somewhere and be confronted by somebody, because some days I just don't have it in me. And I mean, is this even reality, right? Like, is this even real that going to the store or running up somewhere to get, you know, something that you need feels like you're going in, I don't know. I don't want to say battle, because it's not, you know, like war necessarily, but mentally it's so fucked up right now and so draining with how everything is, that there is no way any of these things, right? None of these things are freedom to us, but yet we've accepted them incrementally over this year, and one after another after another. And here we are to the point where, I mean, people have lost their minds, and I don't know how you couldn't with this, right? Because it is so far out of control. It's so far swung. The pendulum has swung so far that I don't even know how we start to go back the other way, because so many people have bought into this. So many people believe this. So many people are, even if they see the other side of this, or maybe see that, oh, wait a minute, I might have been like taken here. They're so far into it that for their own ego won't let them go the other way, right? I know people that are like that too. So throughout all of this, right, through all of this, through the forced lockdowns, we're isolated, we're in our homes, businesses are told they're non-essential, people are told they're non-essential, which is fucking insane. And we're home, you know, you can't go to work, can't earn an income, we have these forced mask mandates, and which limits what we can do, limits our movement, right? This thought of this free range, right? Being confined to this area because we can't do what it is that we normally would do, because all of our freedom is being taken away from us. Throughout all of this, what are we doing? We're turning on the TV. We're watching the corporate media. We're spending hours and hours and hours a day on social media with the TV blaring in our faces. And what are they telling us throughout all of this, right? What is the corporate media telling us? Are they telling us anything positive? Is there anything to look forward to with what they say? Is there anything to look forward to on social media when you see anything posted? Generally, the answer to that is no. Yeah, from time to time, you might see a cute dog picture or a cat video or something. But I'm going to say 99% of the content that is presented to us is extremely negative. It's meant to get you to feel a certain way. It's meant to get you to buy into the fear, to look to the government for answers, right? To look to the corporate media for answers. And none of this, by the way, is news, right? It isn't news. When every station is saying the same thing with the same tone and insinuating that you're a complete dumbass if you don't believe them or you don't agree with them, that is not news. That's not news. And it's not just the quote news stations, right? I mean, look at social media. Look at social media right now. Look at the amount of censorship that's going on there. They only want one message. They only want one thing said on their platforms. And guess what that message is? The same thing that corporate media is telling you. And so you've got to start to, I mean, I would think if this is new to you, or if there's people that are in your life that you're like, they don't see this, or they can't understand, they're not questioning any of this. I mean, at some point, doesn't it become so blatantly obvious that everybody is saying the same thing, right? Like, there's no alternative opinions or no other possibilities that exist except what is being told to you by the corporate media and what social media has deemed to be true, right? They've got their, quote, fact checkers saying that it's true. Suddenly that becomes the end all be all, that this is yes, this is all there is to it, and we have the final say. Do you know what that's called? Do you know what that's called when everybody is saying the same thing? It's called propaganda. And here's the definition of propaganda. Information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. If that's not going on right now, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's so blatantly obvious. And during this, and see, the problem with this, with where social media is today, is we are so reliant on that as a population. There's, if you think about Facebook, for example, kids aged 8 to seniors aged probably, 80, 90, 100, nearly all Americans have a Facebook account. And with that, it was sold to be, in the beginning it was, it's a great way to stay connected. And yeah, it was for a while. And now what are we, like, how long has it been? 10 years or something that this has been around? And so within that, people have made businesses out of that, right? They've spent money investing in ads, and they've created these groups, and they've, built up these followings, and overnight it's gone. It's gone. Facebook has taken them down. Facebook has censored their groups. Facebook has, their posts aren't being shown. And so I still often, over this past week, I can't believe that this is reality. I mean, I've said this many times, I feel like, this year, but this week especially, like, really, this is where it's at. Like, this is where we've gotten with censorship. I mean, it is so fucking blatant. I mean, it's insane. And so we've been, reliant on these sites for so many things, right? Not only just, quote, staying in touch, but like I said, businesses, there's, large followings, there's time invested in this, there's so much money's been invested into it, and just overnight it can be gone. And the fact that that's happening right now is, I mean, I don't even have words to say. I don't even know really what to say about it. But it's happening, and it's real. And as I'm thinking about this week what to talk about, I mean, we've got to get off this corporate media plantation, and that includes social media as well. We've got to stop turning on these propaganda networks that are all saying the same thing. We've got to get away from Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and these sites that censor us or just delete your account just for the sake of not agreeing with the propaganda, right? I mean, think about this. Like, I heard this the other day, which is an excellent example. Think about if whoever you have your cell phone network with, Verizon, Sprint, or whoever, think about if your phone calls just kept getting disconnected because they didn't like what you were saying on the phone call. I mean, that's essentially what's happening with social media, right? And we're in this painful part right now where it's so obvious, but yet it's also so hard to break away from that. I know it is. I'm struggling with it myself, in fact. I mean, I deleted my Twitter today, which wasn't a big deal for me because I don't really use it. I only used it to, like, if I wanted to look at other accounts. So I deleted that today, and on my list this week is Facebook and Instagram. But I'm telling you, I understand how hard this is because, and this is for those who have used it. If you've never used it, obviously this isn't a big deal to you. But if you've used it and there's actually elements of it that you like there's a couple of Facebook groups that I like. There's a workout that I do, and I like the group. They talk about different things and give pointers and things, and I really like that. There's a couple other groups that are similar, and so we're all having to find these alternative ways to communicate. And I've talked about Telegram before. That's one of the big ones that I use for actually sources of information. I'm not calling it news anymore because I'm calling it sources of information because there's so much information and not all of it's true. And I think that's another part of the struggle right now too, is being able to determine what is true. And I have a couple of examples of that from this week that I wanted to tell you. So, okay, here's an example of something where you really want something to be true, but the evidence is showing you it's not. So here's an example. I found this face products that I wanted to try. And, I'm reading the reviews and it's getting great reviews and I'm seeing these before and after pictures of people. I'm like, wow, it looks good. Okay, cool. Yeah, like sometimes I get tired of my product routine and so I want to try something different. So, okay, I order the products and start using them. And, about a week in, my face starts going crazy. And I keep using the product. I'm reading the results. I'm reading the reviews. I'm looking at either other people's results. I'm looking in the mirror. I'm not getting those results, but I want those results. And I want those results really bad. And I want to use these products. Like for some reason, I just really want to, I want to use them. I like the messaging. I like the packaging. I like what it promises it's going to do. But I'm looking in the mirror and I'm seeing evidence and it's showing me it's not doing what it's saying it's supposed to do, right? So this cycle continues for a couple of weeks until finally I'm like, what the fuck? This isn't working for me. This product simply doesn't work for me for whatever reason, right? Generally for me, it's vitamin C. For whatever reason, it just doesn't work on my skin. But there's all these people out there saying you need to have vitamin C for your skin. If you want to stop, you want to, not look like reverse aging and you want to blah, 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 all this stuff with vitamin C, right? And they show all these results. But when I use vitamin C, it doesn't work for me. But yet I went through that cycle because I really wanted something to be true. I went through the cycle of reading the reviews, looking at before and afters, trying the product, looking in the mirror, not seeing the same result. In fact, seeing quite the opposite. Yet I kept going back through that loop and through that circle. And even though the evidence told me it wasn't for me, the evidence was not the same. So, and maybe there's things like this that you're going through right now too, right? Maybe it's with things that you're seeing in the propaganda about what's happening in the world and you're like, but wait a minute, that's not what's happening, right? Or that's not how it is for me, or that's not what's going on here in my town, or, whatever it is, right? There's something about when we really want something to be true and we want to believe it so badly, we're willing to overlook the actual reality of things. And we will continue to believe the thing that we want to believe so badly until it gets to a point where, like with me, with this product, I'm like, this is like, I can't keep doing this. This just doesn't work for me, right? It doesn't mean the product's bad. It doesn't mean that it was a scam. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means it just simply didn't work for me. It worked for all the other people that used it and showed the before and afters, right? And that's fine. That's great. But things that work for me, maybe they don't work for them, right? So this belief, when we want to believe something so badly, it can cause us to do things like this and not even believe our own selves. And I think that's what a lot of us are going through right now, where we're being told something which we know isn't true. We know it within our everything it isn't true. Yet we're being told that, and we're kind of going in this cycle, like I was with the face product. And at some point we have to break away from that, right? We have to break out of that and be like, wait a minute, no, that's not what's happening here, right? That's not what's happening. And it's the same with, with being on social media, right? And thinking we have to be on there, or thinking that that's where we have to go to get our information, or thinking that if we aren't on there that, oh my God, I'm going to be so disconnected from the world. No, I don't think that's true. I really don't. There's people who aren't on social media who are still living and probably living much happier than most of us who are on it. So there's one other point one other example I wanted to share from this week, that going back to this corporate media plantation and the things that we see and how deceiving so many things can be. So there was this clip where it was showing like a news person, and he had the big screen on, and it's kind of one of those touch screen things. And in the first video I saw, it showed that they had Pornhub up on the video. And he quickly swiped it away, and he looked like it was on live air, so he couldn't really say anything. So he looked at looked to the side, like he was looking at the people, like, what the fuck, and in my mind I'm like, and he just had this stern face, and I'm like, oh my God, that really happened, right? And I'm like, and I'm making up this story, right? I'm making up this how his face looks with this, or in the how angry he's looking, and his body language and all this, and then I'm going through other things and I see the same video again, but it's the real video. And it wasn't a Pornhub link that was up there that he was swiping away. It was just another link that it told like the time or something like that. And he just simply swiped it away and turned. And when I had that mindset, when I saw what it really was, my perception of how he turned and looked at the audience or looked at the people on the side was completely different. Like I didn't even have the same, like it was two totally different. My perception was totally different for both. And the one that I thought, the Pornhub, I don't know that I thought it was true. I just took it as I just consumed it without question. And I think that's what we're doing a lot, right? We're consuming it without question, whatever it is. But my point with this is that my perception that went with the consumption of it without question was, it caused me to believe something that I later saw wasn't true. And so then I'm wondering how often I'm doing that with other things, which is probably a lot. And I think we all are to some degree because there's so much information out there, so fast, so furious. Everybody wants to be the first one to say it. Everybody wants to be the first one to break the news, right? So what can we do? The biggest thing I think we can do this week, and maybe today isn't the day, maybe this week isn't, because I understand this is a painful process and it's going to require, like I said at the beginning, being open and willing to the idea of unlearning everything that you were taught or unlearning or, everything you thought you needed in your life. And we have to get off these sites. We have to get off Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We have to move to more censorship-free platforms. Parler is one. Telegram, like I said, now Telegram isn't completely censorship-free. That's a whole nother story that I'll save for another day. But Parler, Gab, I think is another one. That was one recently I signed up for. And we have to start detoxing from all of this. From the propaganda, from the fear, from the pain of all of this, right? This is so difficult for everyone on so many different levels and to so many different degrees, depending on where you're at with things, depending on where you've been. We have to start getting away from this. And a good question, two questions really, I think to ask ourselves. What do I want my future to look like? And what do I want my future to feel like? I know right now it doesn't feel like maybe we have a choice in that, but after all we've talked about on this show over the years, and I was thinking back to this at the beginning about how I changed everything, and really why I wanted to do this show in the beginning anyway, or at all, was to talk about how I changed my mindset and how it changed my life. And as hard as it's been, I still believe in the laws of the universe. I still believe we have a say in our reality. I still believe that by choosing what we think, we can create a reality that's good or a reality that just simply feels terrible. And it's been so easy to consume all of this information that gets our thoughts going in this direction that makes us feel terrible. I've done it. I'm doing it. I'm in the process of doing it. And I'm at the point where it's got to stop. It's got to stop. And maybe some of you aren't there yet. Maybe you're not where I am with this, and that's okay. I've said it a million times. This show isn't for me to come here and convince you of anything. It's just another piece of information for you to consume. Take what works, leave the rest. I can't really express to you how important it is to me that you understand that's what my core message is here. But I'm at a point that I cannot keep doing this, consuming the propaganda and accepting it as truth when my mind, my body, my intuition is telling me different. So I think for all of us, sending this message of getting off of these platforms that's the only thing I can see right now that we can do. And again, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying, if you're where I am with this, that, maybe that's something you want to consider, and maybe that's an option for you. So this has been a tough week for all of us. I don't know when it might get better, but I do think stepping away, detoxing, maybe even detoxing from technology in general, right? Just all of it would be worthwhile to save our own souls from feeling this crushing pain that I think many of us are experiencing right now. But keeping in mind, though, that we do create our own reality, no matter what it looks like around us. And the way we create a reality that we want is to get our thoughts in line with the reality that we want to have. And asking those questions, what do I want my future to look like? And what do I want my future to feel like? And sticking with that, right? And letting that guide you rather than the fear and the uncertainty and the rage and all the other feelings you may have that are going on right now. I think thinking about those and focusing on those are perhaps a better way forward this next week, and in the weeks to come. So, all right, that's it for this week. I would love to know what you think. If you have any questions, you can email me, sloanfremont@pm.me. That's protonmail, pm.me. Like I said, I'm on Parler, the Telegram channel. I'll put in the show notes. Please join me on Telegram. There's so much information that has helped me, I will say. If you're looking for information to consume, I really suggest that. It's been it's a different way to consume information, but everything is different now. So what's the difference, right? So, all right. So Parler, Mayway, Telegram. I also still have my course, 33 Days of Magic. So you can take what you learn in the show. And I think that would really help right now. Getting that course, that would probably help a lot of you. 33daysofmagic.com. Unless you take what we learned in the show and you can apply it in your own life. So you can find more information on my website, sloanfremont.com. All right, so that's it. Remember, as you move forward this week, question everything, trust yourself, and find your truth.